Global power is shifting, not in Washington or Brussels, but in the vibrant and bustling capitals of the developing world. These regions are becoming the new epicenters of influence and decision-making. The rise of these cities marks a significant change in the global landscape as they increasingly drive economic and political agendas. The BRICS bloc, originally comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has just expanded its ranks. Now it includes Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iran, Egypt, and Ethiopia, forming a formidable coalition. This isn't just an expansion, it's a profound realignment of global power dynamics, signaling a shift towards a more balanced world order. These nations are collectively signaling a strong desire for a multipolar world. One that is not dictated solely by Western powers, but is inclusive of diverse voices and perspectives. The move represents a quiet, yet significant rebellion against the post-Cold War order, challenging the status quo that has long been dominated by Western influence. As the US turns inward, with talk of sweeping tariffs and economic nationalism, the expanded BRICS bloc is actively forging new bonds and partnerships, seeking to create a more resilient and interconnected global network. The US feels its long-standing dominance threatened, and is willing to employ disruptive tools to protect its interests and maintain its influence on the world stage. Meanwhile, BRICS nations are diligently building parallel systems to insulate themselves from American volatility, creating financial and economic structures that offer stability and independence. This is more than a mere trade dispute, it's a fundamental clash of visions for the future of the global economy, with each side vying for influence and control. BRICS is no longer content to be a junior partner. It's actively constructing an alternative framework that challenges existing norms and offers new pathways for growth and collaboration. The world's assumption that US-led integration was inevitable is now in question, as new alliances and partnerships emerge to reshape the global landscape. Many countries are seeking strategic autonomy, wanting to trade and grow without being overly dependent on the US dollar or Washington's political influence, thus diversifying their economic ties. This isn't about rejecting the West, but about creating options and diversifying on a global scale, ensuring that no single power can dictate terms unilaterally. The stage is set for a new era of geopolitical competition, where emerging powers are poised to play a pivotal role in shaping the future of international relations and economic policies. The expanded BRICS bloc now represents about 45% of the world's population, a massive consumer market and labor force. Economically, BRICS has surpassed the G7 in purchasing power parity. With new members, the bloc controls a significant share of global oil production, giving it leverage over energy markets. Intra-BRICS trade is rising, as these nations build resilient supply chains less dependent on the West. Initiatives like China's Belt and Road and India's infrastructure push are reshaping economic geography. BRICS is methodically building a new system alongside the old one. Their collective weight gives them a stronger voice in institutions like the IMF and World Bank. For years they've pushed for reform. Now they're building their own table. This growing influence challenges the established order and signals the end of a unipolar economic world. The balance of power is shifting. Trump's proposed tariffs mark a radical shift from traditional free trade, representing a bold and controversial move in US economic policy. For decades, America has championed open markets and global commerce, but this new approach signals a dramatic departure from that legacy. The aim is clear: to wall off the US economy from foreign competition, creating a protective barrier around American industries and workers. The plan calls for a sweeping, universal 10% tariff on all imports, affecting everything from electronics to clothing, cars, to raw materials. And for Chinese goods, the tariffs would soar even higher, 60% or more, targeting America's largest trading rival with unprecedented force. The stated goal is to protect American jobs, revive domestic manufacturing, and encourage companies to bring production back home. But the risks are enormous. Retaliation from trading partners, especially the powerful BRICS bloc, is almost certain. These countries have the economic muscle to fight back. US exporters, farmers, tech giants, and manufacturers could be hit hard if BRICS nations shift their business elsewhere, cutting off vital markets for American goods. This strategy is built on the assumption that the world needs access to the US market more than the US needs the world, betting on America's economic gravity. But with BRICS nations rising rapidly, there are now real alternatives for global trade and investment, challenging America's dominance. The global economy is no longer centered solely on America, it's become a complex network with multiple powerful nodes, each capable of driving growth and innovation. Isolating the US could actually accelerate other nations' efforts to strengthen ties with each other, forging new alliances and trade routes that bypass America. The idea that economic pain can force policy change ignores the resilience and determination of countries like China and Russia, who have weathered sanctions and adversity before. Instead of bowing to pressure, they're likely to double down on building an alternative economic ecosystem, investing in new infrastructure and financial systems. Ironically, US tariffs could become the catalyst that solidifies a post-American world order, pushing other nations to reduce their reliance on the dollar and American markets. The gamble, reassert dominance, or trigger a new global alignment that leaves the US more isolated than ever before. The stakes couldn't be higher. The outcome of this high-stakes bet could reshape the global economic order for generations to come. Wall Street is uneasy as talk of tariffs and trade wars threatens global supply chains. The mood is tense, with investors and analysts watching every headline for signs of escalating conflict. The uncertainty is palpable, and the stakes are high for both American and global markets. Tariffs disrupt the just-in-time systems that keep goods moving and prices low. Factories face delays, retailers struggle to stock shelves, and consumers feel the pinch as costs rise. The ripple effects of these disruptions are felt across industries from electronics to automobiles. The bigger fear, beyond immediate trade impacts, is the erosion of the US dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. For decades, the dollar has been the backbone of international finance, trusted by governments and businesses alike. Sanctions and tariffs are pushing countries to seek alternatives. As the US uses its financial power as a tool of foreign policy, other nations are motivated to reduce their dependence on the dollar. BRICS nations are settling more trade in local currencies, bypassing the dollar. This shift is gradual but significant, as it signals a growing willingness to challenge the established order. De-dollarization is now a policy goal for many BRICS members. They are actively developing new payment systems and financial agreements to support this transition, aiming to insulate themselves from dollar-based shocks. The dollar's share of global reserves has dropped from over 70% to below 60% in 2 decades. This decline reflects a slow but steady shift in global confidence and strategy. No single currency is ready to replace it, but the trend is clear. The world is moving toward a more multipolar financial system, where several currencies share influence. BRICS is building financial infrastructure to accelerate this shift. New banks, payment networks, and digital platforms are being developed to support cross-border trade without relying on the dollar. A decline in dollar dominance would mean higher borrowing costs for the US and less power to impose sanctions. The government could face budget pressures, and American influence on the world stage would diminish. The financial world is built on dollar primacy. If that cracks, the system could destabilize. Markets could become more volatile, and global trade could face new uncertainties. Aggressive tariff policies only speed up this process. The more the US weaponizes its currency, the more incentive others have to find alternatives. The existential threat, a world where the dollar is no longer king, would reshape the global order. The consequences would be profound, affecting everything from trade to geopolitics, and the transition could be turbulent for all. BRICS isn't just criticizing the global order, it's building alternatives. The New Development Bank, NDB, offers infrastructure financing, often in local currencies, as a direct alternative to the World Bank and IMF. The NDB's streamlined process and fewer political strings make it attractive to developing nations. Billions have already been committed to projects worldwide. Even more revolutionary, BRICS Pay, an integrated payment system for cross-border transactions in national currencies. This system bypasses SWIFT, building a financial firewall against US sanctions. Together, the NDB and BRICS Pay create a parallel financial universe, giving members strategic autonomy. It's a quiet revolution that could reshape global finance. The US isn't standing by as BRICS rises. Washington's response: new tariffs and pressure on allies to align with its economic agenda. The US uses its market power and security alliances to discourage countries from moving closer to BRICS. It's also strengthening ties with Indo-Pacific partners like Japan, South Korea, and Australia. The competition is framed as democracy versus autocracy, hoping to rally allies. But many nations want flexibility, not a zero-sum rivalry. Aggressive tariffs and sanctions can backfire, pushing neutrals toward BRICS. The US strategy may be accelerating the fragmentation it hopes to prevent. The world is becoming more complex and unpredictable. BRICS is powerful, but far from unified. It's a diverse group, democracies like India and Brazil alongside authoritarian states like China and Russia. Deep divisions exist, especially between China and India, who are rivals as much as partners. Economic disparities create further tension, with China's dominance causing unease among other members. While united in seeking a multipolar world, they often disagree on specifics. BRICS is more a platform for coordination than a formal alliance. Its strength is symbolic, championing the global south. Internal divisions mean progress is slow and consensus-driven. The bloc's future depends on managing these fault lines. The world stands at a crossroads, a more balanced order, or fragmentation and trade wars. The choices made by the US and BRICS will shape the future for everyone. For Americans, tariffs could mean higher prices and job losses as export markets close. The era of cheap goods could end abruptly. Global supply chains would fracture, causing shortages and volatility. The world could split into competing blocks, each with its own rules and systems. Cooperation on global challenges would become nearly impossible. The question: can rising BRICS powers be accommodated without dismantling the global system? It will take statesmanship and diplomacy to avoid a zero-sum struggle. The world waits to see if leaders choose negotiation or conflict.